Unlock the wild mysteries of the Pacific Northwest, where shadows move, legends breathe, and truth hides in the trees. Like, subscribe, and follow us into the forest, if you dare. By Clay Coppage. In Texas, when winding back roads meet secluded backwaters deep in the woods, it's not uncommon to hear tales of strange creatures. None more persistent or legendary than the enigmatic Bigfoot. While East Texas remains a hotspot, especially along the Sulphur River near the Arkansas and Louisiana borders, reports of the elusive creature have crept closer to Central Texas. The Arkansas side of the Sulphur River was the inspiration for the cult classic film The Legend of Boggy Creek, which catapulted Bigfoot from rural myth into mainstream consciousness. But on the Texas side, locals have given these cryptids colorful names such as the Night Screamer, Holly Him, Haskell Rascal, Woolly Bugger, and Caddo Critter, all thought to be regional cousins of the famed Sasquatch. The Texas Bigfoot Research Center, a serious investigative organization, maintains a detailed archive of encounters across the state. Among these are 2 local reports from Central Texas, one from 1977 on the Lampasas River, and another from 1978 in Milam County. In the July of 1978, 15-year-old Jeffrey Gellner had a frightening encounter in Ad Hall, a small Milam County community. According to his account, the creature he saw stood an imposing 7 to 8 feet tall and was entirely covered in fine, dark brown hair. So terrified was he that 2 families nearby packed up and left their homes for a few nights. Sheriff Leroy Broadus, serving at the time, expressed more concern over the surge of curious Bigfoot seekers than the creature itself. Footprints and claw marks were investigated by the Texas Bigfoot Research Center, which concluded they were man-made. The family accepted the explanation, but still firmly believed the boy had seen something real, something unexplainable. A year earlier, in 1977, another sighting occurred on the Lampasas River. The report, though not filed until 1998, described a chilling nighttime experience. 6 friends were camping between Copperas Cove and the Lampasas River, near a low-water crossing. Around 9:30 p.m., 2 of them, one named Glenn, described as sober-minded and clean-living, who ventured by boat to check their trot lines. They reached a shallow part of the river and had to carry the boat over a sandbar. That's when it began. The sound of trees snapping echoed through the night. Moonlight revealed entire limbs falling from the bank above, crashing into the river in their direction. "We were frozen," the witness recalled. Neither of us moved as the sound came closer. What they saw next terrified them. A towering, dark figure covered in long hair with disproportionately long arms, glowing eyes like 2 oranges, and a small, necklace head. They screamed and ran, terrified. Returning the next day with Glenn's brother, a preacher, they found about 20 mesquite trees broken 3 feet above the ground, and deep impressions in the soil. Whatever it was had left its mark. Historically, Bigfoot isn't a new arrival to Texas. The Comanche, Tonkawa, and other tribes told stories of a hairy wild man long before modern sightings. And yet, no bones, bodies, or clear evidence have ever been recovered. The great mystery that both fuels skepticism and fascination. Dr. Vaughn Bryant, an anthropology professor at Texas A&M, spent years investigating sightings across the Northwest before turning his attention to Texas. When asked about the existence of Bigfoot, he was cautious but open-minded. "I'm not convinced that Bigfoot exists," he said, "but I'm also not convinced that Bigfoot does not exist. Where there's that much smoke, there's gotta be fire, and there's a lot of smoke." By Rick Steigmeyer, World Staff Writer, Wenatchee, Washington, February 15, 2005. In the biting cold of a New Year's dawn, Paul Graves awoke to a sound that would haunt him, a long, whooping scream echoing across the icy Stevens Pass Valley. It was January 1, 2005, And Graves, a 43-year-old Wenatchee resident musician, sculptor, and seasoned Sasquatch researcher, was camping with a friend, hoping for just such a moment. It wasn't close, Graves said, but it had the volume to carry across the valley. We just looked at each other in disbelief. The cry, he described, resembled a woman's scream, but segmented into powerful, breathy whoops, eerily reminiscent of ape-like vocalizations. Graves is no casual enthusiast. He is a field investigator for the Bigfoot Field Researchers Organization, a respected national network of Sasquatch researchers. His background spans 15 years of intensive study, and his creative work often reflects his deep immersion in the phenomenon. The son of artist Robert Graves and retired journalist Sheila Graves, Paul has earned both admiration and teasing in equal measure for his work. Often nicknamed Bigfoot by locals, a title he wears with pride. "I'm not convinced Bigfoot doesn't exist," he says. "There are too many credible sightings." BFRO's online database is filled with such reports, and Graves has verified several in his home region, particularly in Chelan and Okanogan counties, each boasting 8 well-documented sightings. These include everything from bizarre screams to towering, shadowy figures seen crossing roads. In one memorable case, an Ellensburg firefighter and his family, camping at Loop Loop campground near Twisp, were so disturbed by unidentified nocturnal vocalizations that they fled their tent and spent the night in their car. The sounds were guttural, distant, and deeply unsettling. "Nothing I'd ever heard," the man said, despite being an experienced outdoorsman. BFRO's mission, launched in 1995 by Los Angeles attorney Matthew Moneymaker, is to resolve the mystery through scientific documentation. The organization encourages first-hand reports and physical evidence, footprints, hair samples, vocal recordings, in the hopes of someday proving Bigfoot's existence beyond folklore. According to BFRO, Washington state leads the nation in reported sightings, with 338 recorded, most from Skamania County near Mount St. Helens. Graves notes that nearly every indigenous tribe in the Northwest has a name for the creature. In his music, he honors one such tradition with a song called Sonequa, the Kwaikutl tribe's name for Bigfoot. He's even built an 8-foot-tall plaster model of the creature for his garden. People laugh, he admits, but I think they just haven't heard the right stories yet. Skeptics remain. Wenatchee and Okanogan National Forest spokesman Paul Hart notes that while reports occasionally trickle in, none have ever produced verifiable evidence. "But I try not to be skeptical about things I know nothing about," Hart adds, echoing the open-minded curiosity that drives many of those who venture into the wild in search of the unknown. By Andrew Griffin, The Town Talk. Pineville, Louisiana. Twice in one year, firefighter and Bigfoot enthusiast Scott Kessler traveled deep into the Sam Houston National Forest near Conroe, Texas, hoping to catch a glimpse, or at least a trace, of something extraordinary. Alongside a team of fellow researchers from the Texas Bigfoot Research Center, Kessler joined expeditions aimed at documenting the elusive creature believed by many to roam the dense Texas woods. These expeditions, organized under the initiative Operation Primate Web 2, took place in January and again a few months later. Their goals were clear and methodical: to capture clear photographs or video, collect DNA evidence, track signs of habitation, and preserve any physical clues, such as tracks, hair, scat, or even unusual wildlife kills. Kessler described moments of quiet waiting, punctuated by episodes of disturbing activity. On one occasion, a night vision camera picked up a glowing eye watching them, about 6 feet above the ground, fixed intently in their direction. The team also reported sharp, sudden noises, tree limbs snapping, heavy footsteps, and even a limb being thrown directly at Kessler. Then came the stench. an overpowering, nauseating smell that swept through the campsite one night. It was like a skunk mixed with something dead and rolled in feces, Kessler said. It gagged one of the guys. It was ungodly. Though they never got a full visual confirmation, something was clearly nearby, observing them. One of the most compelling moments came during the January trip, when TBRC investigator Mike Hall and Observer newspaper reporter Cindy Parker had a shared sighting. Parker, who was actually a skeptic when she arrived, spotted a figure in the road late at night. She described it as covered in shaggy black hair, standing approximately 6 feet tall and exceptionally broad, roughly 4 feet wide. Its movement was smooth and oddly graceful, like it was floating. Hall corroborated her account, estimating the creature's height at about 5.5 feet, with dark, shaggy hair and a powerful, thick frame. Parker was so impacted by the event that she later wrote, "After my experiences in the field, I have reasons to believe that an unknown creature does reside in the Sam Houston National Forest." In a follow-up expedition to the same area, the team found a large, unusual footprint along a hiking trail. They carefully cast it in plaster and guarded it for 3 days, until a careless or maybe even defiant hiker stepped directly into it, ruining the impression. "It was clearly marked," Kessler said, still irritated. "We think she did it on purpose." Despite the setbacks, the team remains committed. Though sightings around Pineville have been rare lately, Kessler believes the forest still holds secrets. "We're recharging right now," he said, hinting that another expedition may come soon. For believers like Kessler, the mystery and the hope is never far off. By Mark Baker, the Register Guard. Eugene, Oregon, December 17, 2006. Autumn Williams was only 3 years old when she saw something that would define the rest of her life. She and her mother were gathering firewood near their cabin in Orting, Washington, nestled in the shadow of Mount Rainier, when they turned a corner and froze. There, just 20 or 25 feet away, stood 2 creatures, one towering, the other small, possibly a parent and child. "I remember the big one's eyes," Autumn says. "They were wide-set, dark, almost human. The pupils seemed to take up the whole eye. Strangely, she wasn't afraid. My dad and his friends were all hippies with facial hair, so the sight didn't seem all that alien to me." She laughs. That brief encounter was only the beginning. Over the next 4 years, Autumn and her family experienced a series of strange events around their remote home. Unexplainable sounds, fleeting glimpses, and even footprints they photographed. Her mother, Sally Shepard Wolford, would later publish a book titled Chronicling Those Years. Autumn never let go of what she saw. At 16, she began researching Bigfoot seriously. By the time she moved to Eugene, Oregon at age 21, her passion had evolved into purpose. She launched OregonBigfoot.com in 2001, creating a safe space for witnesses to share their stories. As of 2006, her site listed more than 870 Sasquatch-related reports, over 580 from Oregon alone, 58 of those from Lane County, dating back to the 1930s. "There's not just one Bigfoot," she insists. "This isn't the Easter Bunny. These are real breeding creatures living in remote places." Many believe Bigfoot is descended from Gigantopithecus, a massive extinct ape species that may have crossed the Bering Strait into North America. Williams produced a documentary in 2006 titled Oregon Bigfoot Search for a Living Legend, interviewing eyewitnesses including Jack Waite, a former police officer who saw something run on 2 legs through the forest in 1997. "The hairs on the back of my neck stood up," he said. "It wasn't a bear. I'd never seen anything like it." Dr. Jeffrey Meldrum, a professor of anatomy at Idaho State University and a leading Bigfoot researcher, supports the possibility of Bigfoot's existence. He has studied footprint evidence with surprising anatomical precision, noting dermal ridges and mid-tarsal flexibility inconsistent with fakes. If it's a hoax, it was done by someone with advanced knowledge of foot physiology, he says. Williams has received both admiration and ridicule for her work, but she remains resolute, with books, interviews, castings, and even artistic renderings of her sighting. She continues to educate and advocate. I might look like a dumb blonde, she jokes, but I'm not. I'm here to teach people what I know. Her belief is echoed by retired zoologist Dr. Wolf Henner-Fehrenbach, who spent over 3 decades at Oregon Health and Science University's Primate Research Center. He claims to have analyzed over 700 footprints and multiple hair samples he believes came from Sasquatch. In his 1998 paper, Sasquatch Size, Scaling and Statistics, he outlines consistent physiological traits that suggest a large, undiscovered primate adapted to North America's wilderness. Skeptics may scoff, but Williams, and those like her, are not discouraged. When you see something like that, it's no longer a question of whether it exists. It's a question of what it is. An Occurrence at 8 by K.W. Lee. Pre-Tibbert and I had just wrapped up a job in Coos Bay along the central Oregon coast and had returned to his small, cedar-shingled cabin tucked away on the banks of the Nehalem River near Vernonia, roughly 50 miles northwest of Portland. That's when the first flurry of Bigfoot sightings hit the news. I ranked those kinds of stories right alongside astrologers and faith healers. Curious, maybe amusing, but hardly worth my time. Willie, on the other hand, took a different view, perhaps because of his rumored status as a shaman, which he never confirmed, but certainly never denied. Sasquatch, he muttered one evening, eyes narrowed. He never called it Bigfoot. That word was just too pedestrian for him. Too tabloid, you know. Bigfoot was for supermarket rags and late-night talk shows. Sasquatch carried weight, tradition, spirit. Willie wouldn't hear of lumping Sasquatch in with the Yeti either. Yeti lived in the Himalayas. If you wanted to know about Yeti, he said, then go to Nepal. Sasquatch, on the other hand, roamed the Cascade Range, from the jagged ridges of Northern California up through British Columbia. When a sighting was reported, Willie listened. Me? I raised an eyebrow. Reported sighted, I said. Not the same as actually sighted. That's media code. They use it to keep the dreamers hooked while the rest of us pour another cup of coffee and keep living in reality. You'll never learn, will you, Denson? Willie groaned. 3 sightings in 4 days. Mount Baker, Mount Rainier, Mount St. Helens. That's not coincidence. That's migration. Like robins, I muttered. That night, we watched the local news on Channel 2, Katu. Willie popped in a VHS tape and recorded the broadcast as it played. We had the sound off. Both of us found the news anchors more interesting when they mouthed headlines in silence. The female anchor, polished and grave, announced, "Coming up, Bigfoot spotted on Mount St. Helens." Her lips made the words easy to read, and just in case you missed it, the caption at the bottom spelled it out like a whisper from the editor. Hurry up and pee, or you'll miss the fun. But before the main event, there were tire ads from Les Schwab and TPR grocery specials from Freddy's. Portlanders know, Freddy's doesn't have sales, they have temporary price reductions. Finally, Bigfoot time. Willie turned the volume back on. The broadcast took us to the south slope of Mount St. Helens. A reporter explained how the May 1980 eruption blew out the mountain's north face and transformed it into a national volcanic monument. She spoke about Ape Cave, the longest intact lava tube in the United States, discovered in 1946 by a logger. It wasn't named after Sasquatch, but rather a local hiking group that called themselves the Mount St. Helens Apes. Katu didn't mention that, perhaps wisely. The story went like this. A couple had parked near the cave and hiked upward. planning to return through the lava tube's upper entrance. Late afternoon. Long shadows. Just as they reached the mouth of the cave and clicked on their flashlights, something barreled past them. Tall, dark, and fast. The man, Ralph Macton, an athletic trainer from Cal State Bakersfield, was carrying a birthday gift from his wife, a camcorder. He spun around, tore it from his pack, and captured just over 3 seconds of shaky footage as the creature fled uphill through the brush. The video showed a large, broad figure hunched slightly, moving in a strange, loping stride. A Washington State Patrol officer later estimated it was about 7 feet tall, not the 8 or 9 the couple had claimed. Its arms were long, but not cartoonish, not ape-like. "Well," I asked, "you're the medicine man, right?" Willie just stared at the screen. They reran the footage in slow motion. In one frame, the figure appeared to glance back at the camera. Just a moment. The male anchor, with the voice of a Boy Scout leader, called it the most compelling Bigfoot video since the 1967 Patterson-Gimlin footage at Bluff Creek. Willie rolled his eyes. "That old tape again? The one with the she-beast who looked like she was wearing a gorilla suit stuffed with foam rubber and old couch cushions?" "She had breasts," I added. "Hairy ones. Don't remind me," Willie said, looking skyward. "Californians. Always with the drama." I laughed. "So you're sane after all." "I didn't say that," he shot back. "I just said I've seen that tape." We watched the new footage again. 3 times. My opinion didn't change. Some joker in a costume. Willie fetched 2 bottles of Henry Weinhard's from the fridge. "Gotta be something," he muttered. Bigfoot didn't fit into my system of logic, my personal syllogism. If PS are Q and some PS are not Q, then the truth should be discernible. But Sasquatch didn't obey logic, or perhaps it operated on its own kind of logic. One I wasn't trained to recognize. Still, the sightings, the tape, they'd stir up the believers. I could already picture them packing their flannel and camping gear, heading for the mountains to catch a glimpse of the legendary shadow in the fog. Whatever Bigfoot was, prank, myth, moron in a suit, or a remnant of ancient memory, it had staying power. And Willie, he just sipped his beer and stared at the TV. Thanks for watching Bigfoot, unveiling the mysteries of the Pacific Northwest. If you have a story to share, or want me to research your area, let me know where you're from in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay curious. The woods are listening.